Today's lesson is on the distributive property. First, we'll look at the distributive property. We can use the distributive property with addition. So for number 1, the distributive property tells us that if we have 3 times the quantity 7 plus 2, we can use the distributive property to help us solve this. So we can do 3 times 7 and then plus 3 times 2. We can write this as 3 times 7 plus 3 times 2. We can also use the distributive property with variables. We would do, if we have A times the quantity B plus C, we can do A times B plus A times C. So we can write this as A times B, which we can just write as AB, plus A times C, which we can write as just AC. Remember that when we're multiplying two variables together, we do not need a symbol in between them. When there are two variables next to each other, that automatically means to multiply. We can also use the distributive property with subtraction. So for number 3, we have 3 times the quantity 7 minus 2. This would be 3 times 7 minus 3 times 2. So we can write this as the quantity 3 times 7 minus 3 times 2. So the quantity 3 times 2. Now we can use variables to show subtraction as well. So this would be A times B minus A times C. Remember, we can just write A times B as A, B, and then we have minus A times C, which is just A, C. Now we're going to simplify the expression using the distributive property. So for number 1, if we have 5 times 41, we need to come up with a way to work this out to make it a little bit easier for us. So we can break up 41. So if we want to use addition to break up 41, we could break it up into saying that it is 40 plus 1. So now we can say that we have 5 times 40 plus 1. Notice that 41 is the same thing as saying 40 plus 1. Now we're going to take the number that's on the outside and we're going to multiply it by the numbers that are on the inside. So we'll have 5 times 40 plus 5 times 1. So we have that this equals the quantity 5 times 40 plus the quantity 5 times 1. Now we can multiply 5 times 40. 5 times 40 is 200, and 5 times 1 is 5. So now we have 200 plus 5, and 200 plus 5 equals 205. Number 2 is 8 times 53. The first thing we want to do is we want to break up 53 to make it easier for us to multiply this number by 8. We can use addition to help us. So if we break this up, we could say that this is 50 plus 3. So now we'll have that this equals 8 times the quantity 50 plus 3. We will now take the number on the outside, the 8, and multiply it by the 50, and we'll also multiply it by the 3. So we're going to have 8 times 50 plus 8 times 3, or the quantity 8 times 50 plus the quantity 8 times 3. 8 times 50 is 400, and 8 times 3 is 24. So now we have that this equals 400 plus 24, and 400 plus 24 is 424. Now we're going to try 2 more examples, but this time we're going to use subtraction to help us. So for number 3, we have 8 times 26. I want to come up with a way to break up 26, but I'm also going to use subtraction. If I was going to use addition, I could say 20 plus 6. But I want to use subtraction, so I'm going to go up to the next 10, so that'd be 30. And I need to figure out what can I subtract from 30 to get 26. And that number would be 4. So 30 minus 4 equals 26. So I'm going to say this is 8 times the quantity 30 minus 4. Now I'll do 8 times 30, and I'll do 8 times 4. So I have this would be equal to the quantity 8 times 30 minus the quantity 8 times 4. 8 times 30 would be 240, and 8 times 4 is 32. So I have 240 minus 32, and 240 minus 32 is 208. And for number 4, I have 9 times 19. If I wanted to use addition, I could say that 19 could be 10 plus 9. But since I want to use subtraction on this one, I'll go ahead and take 19 up to the next 10, which would be 20. And now I need to figure out what I need to subtract from 20 to go back to 19. And that number would be 1, because 20 minus 1 equals 19. So I'm going to use 9 times the quantity 20 minus 1. Now I'll take 9 times 20, and I'll also take 9 times 1. So I have this equals the quantity 9 times 20 minus the quantity 9 times 1. 9 times 20 is 180, and 9 times 1 is 9. So I have 180 minus 9. And 180 minus 9 is equal to 171. Now I'm going to do a couple more problems, but I'm going to use variables in these problems. So I'm going to be simplifying algebraic expressions this time because I have variables. So I have, for number 5, 7 times the quantity a plus 2. I'm going to do the same thing I did before. I'm going to take 7 times a, and I'm going to take 7 times 2. So I'm going to have that this equals 7 times a, and I'm going to have then 7 times 2. 7 times a would just be 7a, and 7 times 2 is 14. So this would be equal to 7a plus 14. And now for number 6. I have 6 times the quantity b minus 7. Again, I'm going to do 6 times b, and I'll do 6 times 7. So I have that this equals the quantity 6 times b minus the quantity 6 times 7. 6 times b is 6b, and 6 times 7 is 42. So I have that this equals 6b minus 42. The answers that we got on both of these problems are simplified because we do not know what the variable equals on either of these problems, so we cannot simplify them anymore. Now we're going to do one more example using the distributive property. So we have, for number 7, 9 times the quantity 6 plus a plus 2. I can use the distributive property, and I'm going to do 9 times 6. I'll do 9 times a, and I will also do 9 times 2. So this will look like this. This would be equal to the quantity 9 times 6 plus the quantity 9 times a plus the quantity 9 times 2. So I do this the same as I did all the other ones, except I just have 3 parentheses this time instead of just 2. 9 times 6 is 54. 9 times a is 9a. And 9 times 2 is 18. So this will be equal to 54 plus 9a plus 18. I can switch the order of the first two. That would be the commutative property. By flipping those around, it still remains the same problem. But now I have 9a plus 54 plus 18. This will give me the opportunity now to add 54 plus 18. And I'll get that this equals 9a plus 72. This would be simplified because I do not know what a equals, so I cannot simplify it anymore for this problem.